Good morning. My name is Taryn, and thank you so much for stopping by my channel, Nicole Flower House. 1 year ago, I set out to build an amazing raised bed cut flower garden so I could learn how to create sustainable floral designs using my own homegrown blooms. This morning, I spent most of my time in the garden cutting roses and dahlias to make a little arrangement, just something simple in a mason jar that I could put on my dining room table. Now, I don't know the variety of this dahlia. It's a super pretty white one. And it just happened to be one of the ones that I missed when digging up my dahlias last year, and it came back on its own. So it was a mystery plant, but it's one of my favorites that I have in the garden this year. So when I'm doing my new dahlia patch, I'm going to make sure I get this one in there in a good spot, and I may even try dividing these tubers so I can increase my stock of this one. I was really kind of surprised at how many roses I found throughout the garden this week. They have really responded to the cooler weather and the rain that we've been getting. So most of the plants I have, which I have 4 right now, put on a flush of blooms. This rose right here just smells so good. It's very fragrant. It's from David Austin and it's called Desdemona. And this is actually my first season with this rose in the garden. It was a Christmas gift I got from my wonderful mother-in-law, Mary, and she sent it to me. And I just love this one. It smells so great. The color is this beautiful white. It's just so elegant, and I just can't help but to cut these blooms and take them inside when I find them. Now here, I'm just so excited to show you something I found. I had to run and get the camera because In these chrysanthemums, I found the smallest, cutest little toad living in here. He's probably only about the size of my thumbnail. It is the tiniest little toad I think I've ever seen, and he was just so cute. I know the camera is a little out of focus, but I had one hand on the camera and another hand on the branches, and I couldn't get it to focus, but he was just too cute, so I had to include him and show you. Now right here you can really see this vine that is going throughout the mums and in this garden box. It's called buttercup squash, and I really like this. I'm having trouble right now with the squash getting pollinated, so most of them are not maturing. I could go in and hand pollinate these, but I just haven't done that. All the previous squash that I got throughout this summer actually didn't survive because I had a huge problem with vine borers. So I'm thinking maybe next year I'll take a break from squash. I'm not sure. It'd be pretty hard for me not to grow any squash or pumpkins, but I had such pest pressure that I'm not sure if I want to do it again. This year I've noticed something that I haven't noticed before. I have a lot of pollinators that seem to be sleeping or resting on the flowers. I'm not real sure if I should be concerned about this just because I have never seen it before. It's not every pollinator, but I do have a lot that do that, and I'm wondering if they're just getting too cold in this weather or if this is normal. I don't spray any pesticides or herbicides, fungicides. There are no chemicals in the garden, not even organic ones. So I'm kind of wondering what's going on with these little guys. Here's one though that's completely active and just going to town on this pollen. But let me know in the comments below if you know what's going on with my other buddies. Now this right here I'm super excited about. I think these are Ranunculus that have come up from where I had them planted last year. And I'm really excited about that because I accidentally missed out on Florette's sale this year, so I wasn't able to get any new corms from Florette. So I'm hoping maybe I'll get some volunteers that survived over the summer and will pop back up. I also dug some of my Ranunculus corms up at the end of the season, and I'm going to see if I can reconstitute those and if they sprout. So that'll be in an upcoming video. Here are the massive pumpkin vines that have taken over the garden. They're still doing really well. And actually, I have found yet another pumpkin. I'm starting to lose track of how many I have. I think I'm either at 4 or 5, but it's kind of fun that I just keep happening to find more and more of those pumpkins. They're very green. I don't know if they'll mature before the frost, but we'll see. Now here are the calendula seedlings that I planted several videos ago. I'm thinking it's around 6 weeks at this point. Here's some Dara, and I also have stock. So these have really started to take off a lot more. I didn't have much hope for these for a while, but maybe I was just being impatient, and they're taking longer because there's less daylight and less heat available during this season than in the spring. The mums have definitely started opening up, and the orange ones are in full bloom. I didn't realize I had these purple ones. I'm wondering if they're called Frosty Morn. And now that these ones are fully open, I thought they were coral charm, but now I'm thinking they might be a variety called Kelvin Mandarin. Obviously, I've lost my plant tags and I'm not really sure what they are. I just know that I bought them from King's Mums, so I've been looking at their offerings, trying to figure out which ones mine are. So I think these ones may be the Mandarin ones. They're a little more orange than they looked last year when they were in their pots. But when they were in the pots, I'm sure they were a little bit malnourished and not doing that well. So hopefully, they'll continue this bright orange color and the nice pom-pom shape. And here I've come back to the Wild Eve David Austin Rose. I just wanted to show you how many buds are on here. I can expect another flush of blooms here in a few weeks, I think, which is really exciting. These roses are just doing so good this fall. These poppies that I started from seed about 6 weeks ago are starting to get a lot of nice growth on the foliage. I'm not expecting blooms this year. What I'm hoping for is these to overwinter in a nice clump of foliage, and then in the spring they should shoot up blooms. I've never had poppies before, so I can't wait for this to happen. I do have some spots that are still a little patchy. I sowed some extra seeds last week and I don't think those germinated or took. I didn't really do anything except scatter the seeds, so maybe after some winter rain they'll pop up, or maybe they'll come up in the spring. Not really sure. I'll keep you updated on that. The bachelor's buttons have also put on quite a bit of growth and are doing very nice. This little patch of Selozia has just started to turn colors and really deepen with the fall weather. I wasn't really expecting that. I was just kind of letting them be for the pollinators, but I'm really liking the colors that they have started to turn. Of course, there's a lot of those sleeping bumblebees in these Selozia as well. They're just kind of hanging out, but this coral color is so pretty. One thing I've noticed that sometimes my Selozia, when I would cut fresh growth, would flop, but these older plants, the stems are a lot sturdier and don't flop as easy after I cut them. So next year, maybe I'll let the Selozia plants mature a lot longer before I start cutting on them. Here is the Love in a Puff vine, which I really love the seed pods that I'm getting on these. They are so dainty and pretty. I've had some trouble getting these not to flop in arrangements. Sometimes they seem to do well and sometimes they don't. So I'll just have to start being a little more observant when I'm cutting these so I can get the best vase life out of them, and just practice more with using them in my arrangements. These sunflower seedlings have also put on a ton of growth. It seems like inches since the last week I've shown you. It's just a sunflower mix from Seed Savers Exchange, which I love getting seeds from them. They have heirloom varieties, and their mission is to protect seed variety, and I just love their company. But anyways, these sunflowers, I don't know, am I gonna get flower heads on these soon? It looks like I might. I don't know, we're kind of up against the deadline for frost. So I'm really hoping to get sunflowers before the frost. I'm not sure if it'll happen, but that would just be so fun. Now This zinnia patch looks very sad. There's a ton of disease on the foliage. It's something that happens because our climate is so humid here in North Carolina. I'm in zone 7B. It's just warm and humid, so this is very common for zinnias in my area. And also, these weren't cared for the best, so it might be a little bit my own fault. But I wanted to show you because the blooms are so cheerful and pretty, and the reason I've left these alone instead of taking care of them is that the pollinators love these. So I'll let the pollinators have them despite the disease issues. I would never cut these and put them in arrangements. You can even see there's some damage on the petals. They're just not looking their best, but the little bugs don't seem to mind and they love the zinnias anyways. This winterberry plant here looks much more healthy since I've cut back the gomphrena and given it more space and less competition. So next year, I probably won't plant hardly any annuals in these beds with the winterberry shrubs, just so they can get better established and really fill out over the season. I don't have much to show you on the dahlia patch. I've recently pruned back all the blooms and there's not much color on the plants right now. I have an event here at the house in about a week, a bouquet arranging event, which will be so much fun, but I wanted them to push a flush of fresh blooms out for that. So I've cut all of the spent blooms off. Everything's deadheaded, so the dahlia patch is very green right now. But it's still beautiful. Here's a bud just hanging out on its own. Now for this arrangement, I'm putting most of my focal flowers, which would be the roses in this case, down at the bottom to hold that weight. These roses, I'm getting about 2 to 3 days of vase life out of them. I'm not doing anything special right now with the water. There's no preservatives or anything in it. So I'm just trying to work on picking them at the exact right time to get the best vase life out of them. I don't really feel comfortable giving these to clients yet because I think 2 or 3 days of vase life isn't enough. If I were to use these for an event, I would definitely cut them the morning of. Now that being said, they're still super beautiful and they're very fragrant. When I was done with this arrangement, I set it on my dining room table, and every time I walk into the dining room, I just get the most beautiful scent of rose. You don't even have to walk up to the arrangement to smell them. They just kind of fill the room with their beautiful fragrance. Well, that is all for today's garden update. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, and the best way you can support my channel is to subscribe and share it with your flower-loving friends. Thank you so much for taking interest in my cut flower garden, and I will see you next week. Bye!